You don't want to do that with your hermit crabs. It doesn't allow gas exchange through the shell, so it doesn't allow them to breathe properly. Welcome to the Tye-Dyed Iguana. I'm Eric. I'm going to talk to you guys about some hermit crab care. Obviously, I have a lot on this table right now, but we're going to go through all of it and we're going to make sure that your hermit crabs have kind of the best life possible. There's a lot of different ways to take care of hermit crabs, but this is what we find out works best for us. So a lot of people end up seeing hermit crabs in a pet store or at a gift shop. You know, they're little small guys. Now those guys can get fairly big. They could potentially get up to about 6 inches. Obviously that would be a much older crab by that point, but they do have the possibility of getting big. So definitely make sure whatever you have or whatever you're going to put them in is definitely big enough to accommodate those. So first thing, you're obviously going to start with an enclosure. Minimum tank size that we do recommend is a 10-gallon aquarium. Now you could go bigger, a lot of people do. Gives you a lot more room for them to forage and kind of do some different things. So let's start first with the substrate. Now here we do have our own invertebrate soil. Now the invertebrate soil is a really nice mix of a lot of different things. It helps keep humidity. Now I do recommend mixing that with a bag of sand. I like to do personally about a 50-50 mix. That's going to give it a nice loose substrate for them to burrow in. Hermit crabs do need that ability to burrow with nice humid soil so that they can actually get down there and molt their exoskeleton, come out of their shell and all of that. The other thing I like to put in as a substrate is a nice leaf litter layer. A lot of people don't realize this, but a lot of the purple pincher hermit crabs specifically, they actually get their purple color from the tannins that they actually ingest. So getting some nice, beautiful crabs, that is going to definitely help them. It allows them to just kind of go through and check some things. Now, along with the soil, I personally like to add in springtails and isopods, make it a little bit more bioactive. It's going to help compost any of the feces that come from the crab and just keeps the tank clean overall. Along with that, inside the enclosure, I do recommend adding something like some cork bark. Some cholla wood does work really well. The cholla wood allows them to kind of climb because it has all those nice little holes for them to climb through and just lets them kind of move throughout the tank. Along with just the main things for the substrate and decoration, our next thing to kind of go over is going to be things like a heating element. Hermit crabs like to be fairly warm. They are a tropical species, so anywhere really in the 75 to 85 degree range works great for those guys. Nothing too hot. We don't want to cook those. We don't need to eat these guys for dinner, but this definitely keeps it really nice and warm. In the way of lighting on the tank, you can put some LEDs or a fluorescent just to keep the tank so you can visually see them, but lighting isn't necessarily important for a hermit crab. Unless you want to use, like I said, the heat lamp, just to make sure that they're staying warm instead of something like an under tank heater. Going into that then, I didn't put any water bowls on here. That's kind of up to you, but I like a nice deep water bowl, something that they can get into, kind of soak, but easily climb out of. Now, hermit crabs do need a combination of both fresh water and salt water. That salt water is going to give them a lot of the minerals that they may be lacking, help them develop their exoskeleton really well, and just kind of help with all the metabolic processes that they have. So definitely 2 water bowls. You don't need a sponge. A lot of people like to use sponges in them, but the sponges tend to cause a lot of bacterial growth and just get pretty nasty. So you're replacing them often, but if you're somebody who likes a sponge, definitely go ahead and use one. Along with those minerals that I was talking about, I also like to use the hermit crab mineral blocks. It's just kind of like a calcium block, but it's gonna help them with exoskeleton development, as well as any minerals that they may be lacking from other items that they're eating in their diet. Speaking of diet, I do have some dietary options here. Now, there are some great hermit crab foods on the market. This is the basic hermit crab food. We do also have some treats. One is kind of a tropical fruit salad. One of them does have some peanuts in it. Those are both going to be great as treats to kind of add in. But obviously key with any captive animal is really making their diet varied. So I also like to add in this omnivore mix. The omnivore mix doesn't just have vegetables in it and things like that, but it does actually have some insects. It's just gonna help them with a lot of their diet. So whether you use this, maybe add in some freeze-dried shrimp, things like that, it's definitely gonna help fulfill their diet quite a bit. So with the food, to make sure that they're getting everything they need, definitely have a bowl in there at all times. Now you could also use fresh vegetables, fresh fruits, things like that. They're a scavenger. They're gonna eat whatever they want to, whenever they want to. But the key is to always have food available. You don't just wanna let them feed until they run out. Make sure you have food in there at all times. Humidity is another important part. So here I do have actually the temperature and humidity gauge, like we already talked about temperature, but humidity is important as well. So using something like a misting bottle to spray their enclosure on a regular basis, just to keep that humidity about at 75%. So you want that soil to be moist, not wet, but you kind of want it like a freshly tilled soil. And that's gonna keep the hermit crabs as happy as can be. They'll be able to burrow in that, be able to molt their shell, or their exoskeleton rather, extremely easily with proper humidity. Other than that, you do want to definitely make sure you have a few different size shells depending on the size of your crab. Sometimes the same size shell works great. That way they can actually move into a shell that they like maybe a little bit better. And then as they grow, you want bigger shells to really make sure that that has something for them to grow into. We do not recommend painted shells at all. So whether it just has a clear coat or any regular paint on them, you don't want to do that with your hermit crabs. It doesn't allow gas exchange through the shell, so it doesn't allow them to breathe properly. Also, some of that paint can be toxic and end up killing your crabs. The hermit crabs on their own can actually end up living 10 plus years. I've heard on some instances of them living like 30 years in captivity. So make sure that you are definitely giving them the healthiest option possible to get that crab to live as long as possible. All right, guys, that's gonna be it for our hermit crab care. Definitely subscribe, kind of check out some of our other videos on different care of animals you may be interested in, and we'll see you guys next time.